Real niggas stand beside us, killers, cutthroats, and connivers, bringing it to live us and leaving no survivors. We the East Siders, what define us is we riders. Real niggas stand beside us, killers, cutthroats, and connivers, bringing it to live us. We the East Siders. At least 3 days, snappy ass Frenchies, and it ain't no thing. Hang with motherfuckers wanted for all types of crimes. Plus the little bitty niggas on their bikes with nines. On the grind, know I rhyme, nigga, times is hard. Got jugs of water buried all across my yard. One time on my line trying to find the cause. Toss a nigga in the street and reach up under my balls. Guns cock, mug shots, cell blocks and lockdown. But I done made it too far to stop now. Results of a banger, the most I'm a danger. No hope for those who come too close to the chain. Bitches loving, I'm a gangster, so fuck it. No matter if I have to, I get at them in a bucket. Tucking in my shirt, no, that shit don't work. First look, say I'm a crook that did dirt for the turf. How I talk, how I walk when I stalk the street. Guarantee you try to see me come across the feet. It's a side lifestyle, wild and foul. Going out, putting it down, saying fuck the trap. Aim is to be famous with major loot. A gang of juice in case I got to bring the troops. And everybody know the East Side the craziest. So motherfuckers know it ain't no fake.
Guys, we're going straight back into the Sacred Records of Atum-Ra Part 6. Pen and notepad ready. Hold down the screen. Share this live with 5 to 10 people in your inbox when you see that inbox come up. Hold up, touch my nose if you want. It's not going to charge you. And then you'll see your inbox come up. Share this shit with 5 to 10 people in your inbox, or share it with the whole inbox if you like, yeah? We're about to go into Class 6 of the Sacred Records of Atum-Ra. I want to be here till about 10:30. So I'm just go ahead and continue to read through the thing like I was doing before. Bear with me. I need to get myself some water and we can ride out. Yeah, so share this live for me, guys, and get a pen and a notepad so you can take down notes. If you want to follow on YouTube, it's running on YouTube at the same time. You can follow on YouTube. I do need you guys to go over to the YouTube page and follow the YouTube page so we can get these lives cracking on YouTube, because then we don't really have to watch the community guidelines and the things we say and stuff. It's a bit easier. Bear with me 1 minute, yeah.
Yeah, y'all motherfuckers know. Turn my shit up, motherfucker. Ray, whack, fuck yeah. Word up, fuck the radio. Whipping the regal on y'all beagle looking motherfuckers. Yo, James spin off. Slick dames wanna hit off. Check it, slip lock it down, lanes get off. Jerry match, range rack, fist of Furiac, Dawn Pole, 600 glow. Wally Mac, poly like that, it's real. Diabolical, logical, strange, chokehold, kill as possible. Flip a wig, blindfold, rewind the scroll, clip full mode, flip on the glow, blow, rock a arm full, Taurus the ball with ball. Sit back, harmful, Timberlake cold war, hailing from my neck down. Rounds, flip clowns, buying a loyal bitch, gowns go down. Fuck them clowns while we healing. Wheeling labs with cathedral ceilings. Try a hitman for hire, alien flyer. Bang the whack. What? Step up. Bang the whack. Sort up. What? Bang the whack. George the crack.
Hey yo, witness the abduction, bill of destruction, blood rushing. From a universal standpoint, I knowledge shorty's busting, but they gotta come some before they can test my steel. I sent a grandson to let him feel one. Bodies now work my gun. East and dawn, www.masterkill.com. Heavily on, we roll through the dark damp litter of the forest. Floor lies gold. Bless him with a C note, throw him overboard, slit his stomach so the body won't float. The vigilant, infinite patient, I stand as command-in-chief.
Yeah, so guys, as always, as the first 5 classes, there's a lot of science involved in these Sacred Records of Atum-Ra, yeah? It's something that essentially we have to learn it in order to understand all the antics that CERN's up to and all the changes that are going on in our realm, so we can prepare for them in the best way. If we know what's going on in terms of the science of this realm, then nobody can fool us with no beliefs or no misinformation, because we're going to be straight onto the science of the gods, yeah? So I'm jumping straight back into this live here. I need you guys to tap the screen. I need you to hit the heart me and support this live, right? Otherwise, the live is not going to have the radius it's supposed to have, and the whole purpose of this is to reach the people who need to be reached, because on the public space, the truth isn't really abundant. Yeah, guys like me or accounts like mine are few and far between. Most of the accounts that are dealing with the truth have a small following. The truth gets the smallest audience. The truth is the only thing that is restricted. There's a lot of pushback against the things that I come online and speak about. They don't want that type of shit on YouTube. They don't want that type of stuff on TikTok. Come, what's up?
Are you having your
Come,
podcast?
what's up?
I've just found this rare 20 pence piece.
Huh?
It's worth money, yeah? 2011 it was minted, and you see the back of it?
£700. This is what?
And they've got some obviously. I want you to do it. On eBay, another one. Well, put in 2011. Look, very rare. Because of the back of it, 700 and odd pounds.
Me come set that up, give you.
Well, keep it. Look after it. I want you to look at that for me.
Yeah. When I'm done, I'll come sort it out for you. Yeah.
I'm just getting this change together for you, so you can.
All right.
I just care. I thought that back of that coin don't look like normal 20p, so I looked it up. Sorry, son.
It's all right. Mom, dude, yeah. Yeah. So we jumping straight back into this. I'm not even putting no arm sound in the background. I just want to, hold on, why does that come back on? I just want to read, man. So this is the third time we're going live today. I am going to try and come live one more time because of the day that it is with the solar eclipse. Did any of you get to see the solar eclipse? I did not see it, yeah? I'm looking for this thing and we can't see no solar eclipse, yeah? So there's a solar eclipse, a new moon, a lunar alignment of, I think it's about 6 or 7 planets, and a meteor shower. The meteor shower actually started last night. I have people who have told me they seen meteors last night. I didn't see anything, yeah. But yeah, I'm stuck on this. So as long I don't have to see it, as long as it's going on, yeah, I'm in the elements to receive the energies from there. I don't necessarily have to go out there and see it. But if any of you guys seen the effects of the solar eclipse from wherever you are, I know in Spain they can see 90% of it. Here is about the same. We're supposed to be able to see 90% of it. I have seen nothing. Tonight there's supposed to be another meteor shower with hundreds of meteor showers, hundreds of meteors, and also it's supposed to be a new moon tonight, yeah? All of these things are very significant in what they mean. I may post a video after this live to explain what those 4 things mean. So my intention was to go live 4 times today. This is the 3rd time. I got to make a move at 10:30, let's say 10:45 or whatever, and do a little errand. But I will come back and do a late live because I'm just feeling in the mood. And I've already put the work in to build back this algorithm. And it seems like that's the thing to do. So let me bring this up and we're just going to start cracking on one time. I know the light behind me is not perfect, especially when I move my head, it blares up and that. But hey, let's just do this thing, man. We don't have no time, right? Hold on. This is right where that folder is that I need. Here we go. Right, so we're at, hold on, we was at page 300. See, it's lucky thing I remembered, you know, because I left the thing where I scrolled down to the bottom of the thing. But we was at page 344, right? So let's have a look. 198 basket, is that how far back I went? Hold on. Right, this is 244, so we need 344, right? This is 285, 300, 313. Was we all the way down? Are you sure? I'm sure we was at 344. Hold on. Yeah. I remember reading all that. So 340, 41, 42, 43. Yeah, what are pathogens? That's where we was. So I'm just gonna jump straight back in. Yeah, you guys can. It might take you a while to catch on to what we're saying due to the fact that I'm just starting from where we left off, but you should catch on pretty easily, yeah? So let's dance the sacred records at Atum-Ra. Question, what are pathogens? Yeah, pathogens are microorganisms that cause disease. Large cells called macrophages attack and destroy bacteria that are not normally present in the body, while cells called lymphocytes bring about other immune responses, including the production of antibodies, right? How is bacteria controlled? For decades, human beings' primary means of controlling microbial growth has been pasteurization, sterilization, and overheating processes. Question, what is pasteurization? Pasteurization is the use of mild heat to reduce bacterial populations in foods, whereas sterilization is the complete unaliving off of bacteria. What does sterilization do? Sterilization is necessary to destroy highly resistant bacterial structures such as endospores. Bacteria are like living paint, covering nearly every surface imaginable and living within other living and non-living things. Many exist in a symbiotic condition in which they function as partners with other organisms. Nate the Great, the best maroon warrior, Nate the Great, he explained this earlier in the comments. Yeah, what is symbiotic? Symbiosis is a close, prolonged association between two or more different organisms of different species that may, but does not necessarily, benefit each member. A relationship of mutual benefit or dependence. From Greek symbiosis, which means companionship, from symbion, to live together, from symbios, meaning living together. This symbiosis has profound consequences on people's lives, right? Question, can you give an example of what you are speaking of? Yes, example. The agricultural industry depends on the existence of bacteria that can transform the nitrogen gas from the atmosphere into ammonia in the soil that plants can use in a process called nitrogen fixation. How does bacteria reproduce? Like fungi, bacteria feed on dYing material and convert it back into basic substances. This process of decomposition is as significant as photosynthesis, for without it, food change would cease and fallen trees, leaves and other refuse would simply pile up. Why will you find bacteria in elements? Yes, bacteria strongly influences the movement of key elements such as sulfur, iron, phosphorus, and carbon around the globe. The weathering of rocks, which releases elements back into life systems for use, is generally enhanced by the breakdown processes of bacteria. Question, so the first plants contain chlorophyll? Answer, no. The first plants did not contain chlorophyll because at that time the sun did not thoroughly shine upon the planet Earth. Remember what I said, how the light of the sun was blocked out by the dust cloud. 24 billion years ago, when the Nibiru smashed into the planet next door, which was Maldek, and then smashed off the bottom half of this planet, which was then called Tiamat, it resulted in a dust cloud surrounding what's left of the Earth. And when the Earth was reformed, the dust cloud was still there. So when Enki and them actually descended in their crafts, Enki asked for the dust cloud to be removed because none of the sunlight was hitting the Earth's surface. So hence, no, the first plants did not contain chlorophyll because at that time the sun did not thoroughly shine upon the planet Earth due to this dust cloud. Although some of the heavy carbon vapors had descended and some were still disintegrating from the heat, there still remained enough to prevent the direct sunlight from reaching the Earth. Thus, the first plants, unlike the larger ones which came later, could not depend on sunlight to produce their energy. All right? Question, so how did bacteria obtain its energy if it don't depend on sunlight, right? Bacteria and algae were and still are able to obtain their energy by other means, and this was possible because some bacteria produce their energy by chemical changes they cause in the elements of their environment. Some types oxidize inorganic compounds such as ammonia, sulfur, hydrogen, gas, and ferrous iron, thereby releasing energy. Can you explain what algae is, right? Yes, algae is any of various chiefly aquatic, eukaryotic, photosynthetic organisms ranging in size from single cell forms, protozoa, to the giant kelp. Algae were once considered to be plants, but are now classified separately because they lack true roots, stems, leaves, and embryos. From Latin meaning seaweed, algae, a group of structurally simple organisms that carry out oxygen evolving photosynthesis. Although most algae are microscopic, some as small as 1 to 2 micrometers in diameter. A micrometer is 0.000001 of a meter, yeah, or 0.00004 inches. Many are conspicuous in the form of pond scum, the scum in the pond and stuff, seaweed, red tide, blue-green discoloration of aquarium walls, and the green coating on trees, right? Which is algae. Question, so if they didn't survive off of the sun's light, what did they survive from? Some types of algae can grow in hot springs, yeah, with temperatures over 176 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, they survive by the conversion of calcium salts and magnesium into a chalky material of brilliant colors. Yet others, which contain a chlorophyll-like substance, are able to perform a limited form of photosynthesis by absorption of light from the red spectrum and by the use of hydrogen instead of water. Question, so the first forms of life were simple microscopic organisms. Answer, yes, that is correct. You see that the first forms of life were the simple microscopic organisms, mostly single-celled. These later advanced to organisms of multiple cells of cell colonies. Question, what process came after that? Then came the algae and the fungi. Fungi are a diverse group of either single-celled or multicellular organisms that obtain food by direct absorption of nutrients, right? The food is dissolved by enzymes that the fungi excrete and is then absorbed through thin cell walls and is distributed by simple circulation or streaming of the protoplasm. How does fungi reproduce? Most fungi reproduce by spores, which are tiny particles of protoplasm enclosed in walls, yeah? The common mushroom may form 12 billion or more spores on its fruiting body. The giant puffball may produce several trillion, right? Spores are usually formed in one of two ways. In one process, the spores form after the union of two or more nuclei within a specialized cell or series of cells. Question, what is fungi? Fungi is any of numerous eukaryotic organisms of the kingdom of fungi which lack chlorophyll and vascular tissue and range in form from a single cell to a body mass of branched filamentous hyphae that often produce specialized fruiting bodies. The kingdom includes the yeasts, yeah, molds, smuts, and mushrooms, yeah. From the Latin akin to the Greek spongos or sponge. They played a great role in the preparation of the planet for other and much more complex forms of life. Question, where did these life forms come from? Many life forms on Earth were transported here. They don't come from here. Not all the animals in the animal kingdom here, neither all the plants come from here. The Elohim brought many of them here to terraform the planet. So again, many life forms on Earth were transported here, which is really assisted panspermia, to sustain life forms from other worlds. If you don't know what panspermia is, write down panspermia on your notes and then write down assisted panspermia. That's a little homework study for you away from this live, right? Panspermia and then assisted panspermia. Write down them two notes. Were transported here to sustain life forms from other worlds. Also, many trees and plants above and in the sea. So when it says were transported here to sustain life forms from other worlds, it's talking about the Anunnaki. They are from other worlds. When they came here, they can't hardly breathe here properly. This atmosphere wasn't conducive to them. So they had to change the atmosphere and make it more like their own planet. So they start bringing certain plants, certain algae, fungi, bacteria, certain animals from their planet that they know once they put them on Earth, it's going to start changing the climate to be more conducive to them, just like their home planet, right? So that's what it means there, to support life from other worlds. Question, whose plan was this? It was designed by the Necheru, also called the Anutu, also called the Anunnaki, called in the Bible the Elohim, and called in the Quran the Malaikat or Allahumma, right? That these creatures came about. Larger and more complex structures would not have been able to survive in Earth's early environment. Question: so does bacteria, algae and fungi still play an important role today? Yes. Bacteria, algae and fungi still play an important role in the balance of nature and the smooth functioning and preservation of life on G or Ki, which is Earth. Question: what formed the first seeds? Yeah, the master recipe for the first seed which produced the first organisms was the result of the combination of certain elements in the presence of the sunlight. So you got carbon dioxide, CO2, plus water, which is H2O, plus sunlight equals carbon plus oxygen. Yeah, simple sugars and starch plus oxygen. Yeah, the effect of the sunlight upon the carbon ring that enveloped the earth started a chain of reactions in which atoms of carbons, hydrogen and oxygen combined to form molecules of simple sugar. Question: when did the original seed come to earth? The original seed was brought to earth when the vapor/carbon ring ascended. Thus it was in a water environment that these seeds sprung to life. Question: what happened to the plants that were living in the water? The separation of the land from the water allowed the plants which existed in the water on the land, as the fetus is in the sac or water before it comes on the land. Question: what effect did this have on the plants? At first, this left some plant life without moisture. However, the flow of the tides, which the ancient Tamaraeans call Nun, acted as an agent in aiding the seeds of some species to continue to adapt on the planet Earth. Ultimately, a different type of plant life with the ability to live on land began to develop. As time passed, plants developed more and more complex systems to adapt to the environment. The increased vegetation on the earth coincided with the greater degree of sunshine that was made available in the fourth growth created period which followed. So when it says the fourth created period, it's talking about on the first day in the Bible, when in Genesis it says on the first day God created this, this and this, and he seen it as good, and that was the first day. And the second day he created this, this and this. On the third day he created the vegetation and rare. On the fourth day, you understand? So those are creation periods. It's not a single day like Monday. On Monday he made the sun, the trees, the rare, and then on Tuesday he made this, that and this. You understand? And that should be pretty obvious, as it takes 9 months for one baby to be born, right? So we're not talking about literal days like days of the week. The days are really symbolic of ages or periods of creation, right? Shu, the wind in bracket. Question: what part does the wind play? Yeah. The winds aid in the pollination of flowers, which in turn causes the plants to bear fruit. The winds also help in the dispersal of the seed. So certain types of seeds are equipped with a kind of wing-type structure that enables their flight-like transport by the wind. Question: does water and wind, that is breath, air or earth, have intelligence? Yeah. As for water, where there is moya, water, there is life. Where there is life, there is intelligence. Yeah. And what of the wind? There too the principle remains. Where there is wind, there is moistness and the movement of particles in motion. There is life where there is wind. In ancient Tamaray, Shu, son of Atum, was the wind. The breath of life is the wind. Where there is wind, there is life. Note the phonetical similarity between atom and atom, as we learned earlier. Question: so Atum, the nature, the Tamarayan deity, and Atom, the atomic energy, are linked. Both depend on wind or air as energy to exist, and this in ancient time was called the breath. Some called it prana, like the Hindus do prana, and the Chinese call it chi, yeah, which is just the breath. Yeah, in Arabic it's called haya. Yeah, it was simply wind or rahwu or ruach or ruh, which in time becomes described by theologians and philosophers as spirit from spiritus, which is wind or breeze. Air is wind and breath, and that is life. Question: what is breath? Simply breathing. You must inhale and exhale. The word hail means free from infirmity or illness, or it means sound. From Middle English, from Old English, hal, meaning health. Question, can you explain this further? Yes, to inhale means to take in health. To exhale means to release your health. You breathe in oxygen, a form of gas. The symbol is O, a non-metallic element constituting 21% of the atmosphere by volume that occurs as a diatomic gas, O2, and you breathe out carbon dioxide, a colorless, odorless, incombustible gas, CO2, a form of gas. Question, what is a gas? Gas is the state of matter distinguished from the solid and liquid states by relatively low density and, and viscosity. Note that it's the density level that is separating gas from liquid and solid. Does anybody know what viscosity means? If you do, put it in the comments, because I don't know what, I'm ignorant of that word there. And both my phones are being used, so I can't just bring up the Google and find out what it is. But if anybody wants to do that, Google what's viscosity and put it in the comments for people like myself who might not know what viscosity is. Is that thickness? Is that what Amslen said? Is that what you're saying? Viscosity means thickness? If yes, put yes in the comments, yeah? And respect if that's the answer. That was quicker than the police, yeah? Viscosity. Note that it's the density level that is separating gas from liquid and solid, which both must have gas to exist. Density level is the key. Question, what is density? Density is the quality or condition of being dense. Question, what is to be dense? Right. Latin, densus, right? To be a combination of solids or liquids brought together to a point where they are impenetrable. In our atmosphere, we have various degrees of matter and various degrees of liquid, from water to steam to ice, yeah? On the opposite of cold ice, there is hot ice. The same applies to gas. On the opposite of atomic gas, there is etheric gas, right? Question, what is ether? Ether is any other class of organic compounds in which two hydrocarbon groups are linked by an oxygen atom. From the Middle English, upper air, from Latin aether, yeah, from Greek aether, yeah. Note that ether is identified with oxygen, one of the principles in breathing. Question, what is the other principle in breathing? If that's just one of the principles in breathing. There are two forms of gas necessary for breathing, which is wind or air. One is oxygen, necessary for combustion, for you to digest your food in your gut and stuff, yeah. And the other is carbon dioxide, which is incapable of burning. Question, what does breathing and burning have to do with this, right? As one breathes in oxygen, it fuses with gases in the body and it lights the inner sun, or what you call the pilot of the solar plex, yeah? It's controlled by the carbon dioxide, which is incapable of burning, thus you don't breathe out fire. Yet the gases in your body is flammable, right? But your body maintains a temperature of 98.6, and if you receive what's called a temperature, they will tell you your body is overheating, and could go into convulsions, yeah, or even spontaneous human combustion, when people just catch a fire and just go up in flames, especially YT people, because they, a lot of them, 85%, the pineal gland is calcified, right? So they can't always control the chi energy that comes up in their chakras and stuff. So at certain times, just spontaneously, like if they're too excited or whatever, they can just catch a fire from the inside out and burn from the inside out. Like if, let's say, the Tamil who was sat here where I am, nothing around him burns. The chair don't burn. Sometimes not even the clothes burn. Just the person catches a fire and burns up and just leaves the matter is just a pile of ash on the floor. It happens to YT people because of this decalcified pineal gland. But I suspect it can happen to us too if we're that out of whack. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what's called internal human combustion. Do a little study on it yourself if you need to, right? Or even spontaneous combustion, simply burst into flames. So there must be a heating system in the body Where there is heat, there is fire, right? What does the solar plexus have to do with fire? The sun has always been thought of a ball of fire burning and giving off heat and light. Thus, it's called the solar plex. The word solar simply means sun, yeah? The word plex from plexus means to braid or intertwine, right? Speaking about a complex system of nerves intertwining throughout the human body and leading to several glands, of which the major is in the center of your system called the solar plexus. This is simply a sun in the center of your chest that fuses and gives off heat, yeah, to warm the body or overheat the body. The sun has always had the atomic number 8, which is oxygen, had a and a symbol of a circle. Question: is why it's called a circulatory system? Yes, that is correct. And this circular motion of inhaling and exhaling health is what keeps you alive. This is an intelligent action. Once the solar plexus, sun or flame goes out, the body, which is called the cat, the physical body, becomes cold, lifeless, and declared DEAD, right? Question: so the elements are alive? Yes, where there is water, wind, breath, air, there is life, right? And where there's life, there's intelligence. Shout out to the mafia if you're hitting the heartbeats and helping me fill out the gift gallery. Respect, yeah? Question: even all flesh? Yes. The physical composition, the flesh is composed of the elements of the earth. In ancient Tamaray or Kemet, it's called Geb, son of Shu, the wind. Shu is the wind, Geb is the earth, and Tefnut the moisture needed to culture cells and bacteria growth, necessary elements in life. So as I said, the Neteru, they used to be in this realm like us, walking around as humans and shit. They ascended from this realm, so now they on the other side of the atom. So they control all the involuntary functions inside us humans. As I was saying in the earlier live, we weren't never supposed to worship no Neteru. We were supposed to become them, because we have all their attributes and elements inside of us. Do you understand? So after the original Osiris went, one of us will qualify to be the next Osiris and sit in that seat, or the next Isis, or the next Hathor, or the next. You understand? We weren't supposed to be groveling to none of these deities. You know, we didn't. We don't even pray because we're not nobody's prey. Yes, we give reverence to the Most High and give worship to the Most High Anu. Yeah, but the reverence that we give to the animals is not like it's just a reverence, a respect, right? We don't really pray to gods. We're agnostic people. In Kemet, you hear the scholars say, oh, they had an agnostic religion. Agnostic means they don't believe in gods. So there's no text in Kemet that told you those Neterus are gods. They told you the nature is the divinity or the deity. And from this nature, this all that there ever was, all that there ever is, and all that there ever will be, this force on consciousness, it expresses itself in a myriad of different ways. So the way that it expresses itself is what you're calling Neteru. Those are just expressions of the nature. And in Egyptian Sheshmedu Neta, nature does not mean God. It's got nothing to do with the word God that comes from Abrahamism and German people. The word they use is nature, which means divinity or deity. We don't have the word God. That's a German word. Do you understand? So we weren't supposed to be worshipping no Neteru as God. We seen them as examples that we could aspire to become. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, they live on the other side and control. They now control humans' involuntary functions. Like, you don't think about your heart beating, do you? Or none of that type of stuff. There, anything you don't have to think about that's going on in your body, that's involuntary. So it just happens, like the beating of your heart. Yeah, you don't control it. The Neteru on the other side control the involuntary functions of man and women. Yeah. Question: is this about the Adam of the Bible and the Quran? Right? Yes and no. The man that the religious theologians call Adam was from a word borrowed from the ancient Sumerians. It's Adamah, which means ground, yeah, or red soil, ruddy red soil. They even created another word similar to Adam, which is Edom, for the color red, just for the color. It don't say it's not for the ground, it's just for the color. So that's spelled with an E. Edom, Adam is the same word. It's just one letter, one vowel that's changed, and the vowels are interchangeable. But Adamah means ruddy red and earth, whereas Edom is just talking about the color of ruddy red. Yeah. which dealt with the blood needed in the Atum-Ra project for the cloning of the human on the planet now called Earth. Atum-Ra does not merely describe an individual 6,000 to 10,000 years ago who was the first human being, but rather an extraterrestrial laboratory experiment with genetic splicing to create a servant of the Neteru, Anutu, who is me and you. The modern human is the servant of these deities. They made us to mine the gold for them because they didn't want to do the hard work because they weren't acclimatized to this climate. So they made us, who was already acclimatized to this climate, okay, you ninjas can do the work. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why in religions like Islam, they tell you that they're slaves of Allah, like the word or name Abdullah, slave of Allah. Do you understand? Or servant of Allah, same difference, right? So Abd in Arabic means servant or slave, as in Abdul of Allah, Abd Allah, yeah, slave of Allah. Okay. Question. So the Bible and Quran story of man being created from the soil of the earth is untrue. It's a sad reality, but yet it's still a reality. It is untrue. I'll read that again. So the Bible and Quran story of man being created from the soil of the earth is untrue. It's a sad reality, but yes, it's still a reality. It is untrue. Think. To imagine that any religious group says an Allah shaped man of the dust of the ground, which is in Quran 15:28, Surah 15, verse 28, and the Torah of the Hebrews, Genesis 2, verse 7 says, and we shaped man of the dust of the ground, end of quote. And the New Testament is a product of the Old Testament, and the monotheist of these three organized religions based on the Greek deity or god of sarcasm, god of pain, called Monos, namely Mosesism, Christism, and Mohammedism, all teach that their God, be it Elohim Yahweh or Theos Christos or Allah, who they call Al-Rab, shaped man from the dust of the earth or the dirt of the earth, or they use clay or they use mud, yeah, in their scriptures. It's preposterous, and I will tell you why. Life already existed in the soil, and they don't mention that they copied their story from the Tamaraean deity Kefa-Ra, which means appearing like Ra, symbolic of the dub or the dung beetle, the scarab beetle, and the scarab beetle rolls a ball of mud, the germ of life, into the form of an egg, yeah, and out of it creates life, and then moves it across the skies as the sun. This was symbolic of the creation of the first male, Shu, your Adam, yeah, and female, Tefnut, your Eve or Hawa, yeah. Shu is the light of or fire, as in the sun, and Tefnut is the water or moistness, as male is a dry creature and woman is a moist creature in their reproductive organs. And Shu and Tefnut gave birth to Geb, who is also known as Seb, yeah, meaning time, yeah, when it's said as Seb. Geb means earth, Seb means time. And they also gave birth to a daughter called Nut, the wife of Geb, the earth deity, which were the parents of Nut and Geb, the parents of Asaru and Aset, Sutuk and Nefet. Kefa-Ra is an incarnation or attribute or another form of Ra. In here you get your story also of your flood. For in the ancient scrolls of Egypt, the story is told that Ra became angry with the sins of mortals, and assisted by Tefnut, water, he destroyed the entire human race, which is afterward revived, replenished. Remember I said first age of man, second age of man, third age of man, fourth age of man, yeah? Afterward revived, replenished afresh out of the blood of the slime, meaning the cells, at the intercession of Nu and the other deities. This is none other than your flood story, borrowed from ancient Egyptian tablets, and your Adam and Eve story, as well as your created from mud, breathed into breath of life, created from water. These are the facts of their myths, yeah? Because when they say your stuff is myths, your shit's been proven. They found Ramesses, they even found deities like Osiris and shit, Gilgamesh, all of that shit's proven. But they ain't never found nobody in that Bible. They've never found nobody in that Quran. They've never found nobody in that Torah. No Abraham, no Job, no Moses, no Noah, none of the woman them, Deborah, Esther. They've found no one. Do you understand? So based on that, it's that book that is the myth. And also how they call your Egyptian book of the coming forth by day into the light. They dub it the book of the dead, right? No, that Bible is the book of the dead. Why? Because everybody in there is unalive. They're not here. They've never found them. They've never even proven that these guys ever existed. Do you understand? Hold on, where was I? Question, isn't dust and sand lifeless? No. Take up a piece of dust in your hand and look closely at it. You're going to see all type of little microscopic little bugs crawling up and down in this sand in your hand or this mud in your hand. It's full of life. Do you understand what I'm saying? So no, dust and sand as well have life in, on and around them. In fact, if you grab a hand of rich soil from anywhere on the planet, put it under a microscope, you will find life already there, already existing, right? Question, so these scriptures are wrong. Absolutely. The concept of to shape the man, Adam, of the dust of the earth is in itself inconsistent, for life already existed where there is soil, right? And life already exists where there is water, and life already exists where there is air, like we've just learned, right? Question, so that life is intelligence? Yes, again, where there is life, there is intelligence, yeah? Question, is this the same as human intelligence? Human intelligence is one of the lowest forms of intelligence. I'll say that again. Human intelligence is one of the lowest forms of intelligence on the scale. I'm going to say it a third time just to sound like Dr. Umar again, yeah? Human intelligence is one of the lowest forms of intelligence on the scale, yeah? And that's why I always say that animals are smarter than you, because they don't need no police, they don't need no government, they don't need laws, they don't need taxes, bills, none of that shit. And you call yourself the smartest being in the animal kingdom, but you need government, you need police, yeah? You need social credit systems, you understand? You need money to buy food and to pay to live on the planet. Like the animals looking at you like, nigga, you not that smart. So human intelligence is one of the lowest forms of intelligence. But we, because of our ego, like that question there, is this the same as human intelligence? As if human intelligence is assumedly better than whatever intelligence it is. That's not the case. Yeah, a dolphin may be way more intelligent than you. That might look at you like, yo, these humans are dunces, man. Look at they fight each other over color, fight each other over beliefs. Like, we are not that smart. And 2020 should have showed you that with how much people took the Wuhan soup or the Wuhan chop suey. Let's just call it that, yeah? Question, don't humans get their intelligence from God? From Allah? See, that's an ego thing, right? That's what is sad about misinformation. Let's look at it through right knowledge, the right wisdom and the right understanding, which will replace the theories, myths and philosophies of religion that teaches you to ignore the facts and use faith and belief for your convictions. Now, I'll open the door to another level of inquiry into their God concept of order. The big G or small g. You see, sometimes they write God with the big letter G, capital G, and sometimes they write God with the small letter. So if they think whoever God's being spoken about is the Most High God, because they know there's a variety of gods, yeah, they make it capital. Okay, God, he's talking about the Almighty God. But if it talks about another God, like let's say in Psalms 82:6, when God says, I say, ye are gods. So they'll write that God with a little g, like there's some type of fucking difference. But when you go to Semitic languages, none of them use capital and common letters. God means God. Elohim means Elohim. Apple means apple. It don't matter if it's capitalized or not. There's no capital letters in Aramaic, in Arabic, in Syriac, in Ashuric, in Syriac. There's no capital letters in Ugaritic. There's no capital letters in Chaldean. None of these languages use no capital letters. That's a deception that happened when the Bible came to English, to fool you, because they're seeing, yo, we can't have them, no, yo, just change it, just say, yo, capital and small. So these small letter G's, oh, it's not really a God in it. But God said you're a God. If I write Elohim in Hebrew, there's no capital or common. It's just Elohim. So when it comes to English now, they start using capital letters to deceive you, because you're going to see that there's more than one God in the Bible. So what they do now is put any God other than who they're supposed to be talking about, they put it as a low or a small G. And if they're talking about God, then they put a capital G. But all of them are Elohim. And as again, there's no capital letters in any of the Semitic languages. Not even Ge'ez in Ethiopia. None of these languages have capital letters. Only English does that. It's a trick. Yeah. And so now me, if I write the name of God, being that I speak English and use English as a first language, I use capital letters for God. That's out of respect. That's not out of it means anything other than, yo, I respect God, so I'll put all I'll put with a capital G, yeah, or all capitals. Even if you see in my books and my writings and stuff, if I say Enki, it's all capitals. If I say Enlil, it's all capitals. If I speak about the Neturi, it's all capitals. Not because of anything other than it's my way of respecting, giving respect to the deities when we're writing in English. But ultimately, beyond that, there's no difference between whether you write it small case or whether you write it with capitals. That's the respect thing that I do personally. Do you understand? Anyway, yeah, the big G or small g, Allah, Yahweh, Adonai, Rab, or Theos. Take, for instance, the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is AIDS, disease called AIDS, the AIDS virus, yeah? That is intelligent enough to enter the human body, right? Align itself with the RNA of the chromosomes, reconfigurates the chromosomes, and destroy the immune system through producing the DNAs, yeah? So, question, wouldn't this be taking over control? Wouldn't this be taking control over Allah, Yahweh, God's master plan in genetics? Answer, absolutely. That is an unrealized fact. In fact, this AIDS virus alters the God concept of creation. Are there other viruses more intelligent than God? Yes, the same could be said about said of Ebola and many other bacterias like herpes and the likes. These are intelligent living entities that outsmart the smartest humans, thus outsmart their concept of an unseen God who is in control of a system of growth, birth, mutation, evolution, and creation, in control of disease, which is dis-ease. Question: can these elements direct themselves or dictate to change themselves? Dictate themselves to change. The earth, Mother Gaia, as ancient Tamarayan calls Geb, the son of Shu, and Tefnut, feels, has emotions, and thinks. This earth feels, has emotions, and thinks, right? Parts of the elements and planets are mindless, yet Earth is a living entity, just as the human body has hair, nails, teeth that are connected to nerves that are intelligent, yet the extremities or protrusions are not intelligent. Life lives in and on and even through them and all things. Yet you live and walk on the scalp of the earth, never getting on into the brain, spirit, or soul of this living planet. Remember we were speaking about that earlier, how everything has consciousness, and you can tune into that consciousness and actually have conversations with that. You can speak to Mother Gaia, you can speak to the trees, yeah, it's all interactive, but you have to be aligned and on the right vibration to plug into that God frequency, right? Question: they have no power of judgment and they don't have feelings. Yes and no. All things have life. Nevertheless, the clouds still continue to shower the earth after it has endured the scorching heat of the sun. The elements, the sun and the planets are not acting on their own, nor by accident. There is a system to things, an emotion, which is energy in motion, right? The intelligence behind their actions is Om, yeah, who has put life in all things that may control them in air. There is life in and on each stone. There is life in and on the seas, yeah. There is life in and on the trees, yeah. The planet lives, it vibrates, it pulsates, it breathes, it grows, and it unalives. It's living, yeah. So that's why we can say something like, yo, that Mars, that's a dead planet. Yeah, it's not living no more. That means before it must have been alive, right? Yes, all lives in all. Yeah, as we are talking about the great mind of God, and we spoke about this concept of the all, partemta, the all that there ever was, the all that there ever is, and the all that there ever will be. Yeah, all lives in all. You are in the all, and the all is in you. Do you understand? The sun is summoned to shine. The water is ordered to flow, and the wind is summoned to blow, and the micro life forms are each controlled by a supreme force who put hayu, life, in all things through growth and change. Yeah, all of these are controlled and guided by the vibration. Yeah, and its many components, where vibration causes friction, and friction produces a spark of life and light. Question: Are you saying that this process is aided by the wind? Yes. Is nature and beyond, and the process of fertilization is aided by the wind, called the breath, the soul, that has essence, substance, emotions, and existence to it. Question: would include physical living things as well? Absolutely. All life is perpetuated by change. The only thing here definite is change, yeah? The only definite thing in all existence is change. And the only absolute is existence. Existence is eternal, is infinite, right? And change happened within existence. Each living thing, detectable and undetectable, is part of this great plan. Yes, even the smallest of insects and even larger insects such as bees and butterflies are all part of this vast chain of life in which we are all linked and all things are linked. Question: so insects play a great part? Yes, and are overlooked, understudied, and never appreciated for their contributions to the great plan. You see, you have insects that live on and in your body all your life, yeah? You are like an insect to the planet Earth. And as destructive as you may see a mosquito, a cockroach, or a flea, as you have grown to be destructive, as you have grown to be the destructive pest of nature, you men and women, you're the ones that mash up the earth, not these mosquito or cockroach or whatever. Us, we're the pest, right? Cutting down trees, poisoning the water, depleting the ozone layer, what's it called? Cloud seeding, microwaving the sky and cloud seeding, just for me to put that in there, right? Creating global warming or the greenhouse effect, splitting atoms and making hydrogen bombs and unaliving people, weapons of mass destruction, chemicals, spraying on fucking agriculture, and we the ones that mashing this shit up, pesticides, come on, plastic in the water, yeah, and creating viruses, yeah, gain of function research. Now we got this strain and that strain, CV19, we doing this, yeah. Question: is this progress or regress? What do you think? Do you think it's progress when you think about where we are today in 2026? How many of you look at this as progress? Because they always look at this, oh, man has progressed and we in this progressive, we at the pinnacle of civilized. Do you really think it's progression or do you think it's regression? Put it in the comments, yeah? Is this progression or regress? Is this progress or regress? It is planned to lead to your eventual demise if you do not learn to cooperate with or nature by realigning yourself with the universal forces that control all growth and decline, that inscribe the plan of metamorphosis, evolution, mutation, growth, and the art of making and even creating. Yet, like most parasites, humans are parasites, like most parasites, the next move is to turn on each other, as lupus turns on the human body and anemia turns on the blood, leprosy turns on the nervous system, cancer turns on the cells, and humans on animals, animals on humans, and humans on animals and on each other. All of this was patterned in your original creation. This was the third creative stage. Scroll 6, the emergence of the sun. Question: what happened during the fourth creative stage? In your Bible, on the fourth day, it says God created the sun on the fourth day. That means day 1, day 2, and day 3. Couldn't have been no 24-hour days. The whole time system was different because according to your Bible, Genesis, the sun wasn't even made till the fourth day. So ask the pastor in the church, the first 3 days, how did they measure that day? Like, what time system did they have to measure it and call it a day? Because a day is 24 hours based on the sun or based on the planet spinning on its axis, right? And the planet going around the sun and all that stuff. So what time system were they using before the sun was created? Because the sun is for the measurement of time. That's what it says, the sun and the moon, measurements of the night and day and shit. So how can you have the first day and the sun ain't even created yet? And the second day, and the sun ain't even created yet, and the third day, and the sun ain't even created yet. Then on the fourth day, the sun is created, yeah? And according to the Bible, the way they understand it, that's the second time the sun was created. Because when God said, let there be light, Christians say that was the sun being created. So hold on, the sun was created in chapter 1, and then in chapter 4 on the fourth day, it says, and God then created the sun. So did he create two suns? Or is there some type of mistake going on or some type of misunderstanding? Anyway, let me get back to this, yeah? Scroll 6, the emergence of the sun. What happened during the fourth creative stage, right? During the fourth creative stage, the Neteru Anunnaki, called Elohim in the Torah, caused a greater emergence of the sun that had made the sun, Shamash as it's called, appear to be brightest of the stars, to supply the earth with light, warmth, and stimulants for growth. Question: this sounds like Genesis 1:14 to 19. Answer: that's because the plagiarized Torah from the ancient tablets has borrowed the story but misused it. And let's analyze the misuse of an ancient story, right? Question: what do you mean by they misused it, right? I mean, if the all-knowing God, be it called Elohim, Yahweh, Adonai, El Shaddai, Olam, El Roy, Hashem, Allah, or any other name that the Hebrew Torah, which bred the Old Testament and gave birth to the New Testament, which gave birth to the Quran, was indeed the all-knowing. If this God was the all-knowing being, they claim these things wouldn't happen, right? Question: just what happened? Well, let's take a look. Genesis 1:14 makes the statement, and I quote, "And the Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament, of the heavens, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, time, the measurement of time, and for days," right? And years. So the sun is created in Genesis 1:14. Then it's again created in chapter 4. Like, hold on, the sun's created twice. This is seen as a mistake in the Bible. Obviously, we can explain it to you. But if you're just going by religion, then man gets stuck on it. If you go and ask the pastor, hold on, the sun's created twice. Which one is the sun? Is it the one in Genesis 1:14, or is it the fourth day? Which one of them is that? And they try and make excuses and dance around the whole shit, and it don't make no sense, right? But anyway, let me go further. The first mistake is, and God said, let there be, implying that this one God said something. The Hebrew word for said there is Atum-Ra, which means in all cases, say, said, and speak, to converse, The God is actually speaking to someone or something, right? Admitting the presence of others. Like God said, yo, let us make man in our image. Who's he talking to? If there's only one God, who is he talking to? And if he's not talking to no one, he needs to go and see the GP, God. He needs a doctor, he needs sectioning, because he sounds delusional. If he's on himself and he's like, yo, let us make man in our own image, yo, you need to take him to the madhouse. God. Do you understand that? Question: so are you saying that this God was not alone? Actually, the word God, like I said in that clip I posted, is not there in the Aramaic Hebrew. There's no word God in the Aramaic Hebrew that the Most High sent down to you. That's a German word that they put in and translated when they translated into English. There's no word God there in the scriptures at all. The word is Elohim. The Hebrew word that is in the Torah is Elohim, and it in itself is not a single word, it's a plural word. So that question is now answered. So what you're saying, God had company. Well, there's no word God in the Bible. The word is Elohim and it's plural. It means a group of Yahwehs. And as you can see, God is turning around and asking them, yo, let us. He's not saying, I'm going to make man in my image and likeness. You man are going to watch me. He says, let us, which means it's a group, a combined effort. Let all of us create this man or these Adams, these Atum-Ra, in our image and likeness. And then again, if God is only one God, which one of us looks like God? Because it says God created us in his image and likeness. All of us can't look like God because we don't all look the same. Not even all us black people look the same. Which one looks like God? Me or you who's watching me speak now? Or on a wider scale, which one of these races looks like God? Is it black man? Because he don't look like white man, and white man don't look like Chinese man. So only one of us is in the image of God. And only one of us has this hair. And only one of us has this melanin. So there must be one type of man here on the earth who's in the image and likeness of God, whereas the others are not. That's why you're catching the smoke, because this is going over most people's head, because they've caught us up in this colonialism, in this hear ye, Shakespearean religious type shit, right? The fairy tale. Anyway. And Elohim in itself is not a single, it's a plural of Elo, the single, right? So, question, so these Elohim were the gods of the Hebrews? Answer, not really. It was just a title used, Elohim means the supreme ones, the shining ones, the powerful ones. It's a title, right? So he says, not really. It was just a title used for the pluralization of these Elos, because in Genesis 31:30, it calls them pagan gods, these Elohims, these pagan Elohims. In Psalms 8:5, it calls them angels. In Psalms 82:6, it calls them men. It says, you are children, yeah, all of you are gods, and you're children of the Most High. It's talking about me and you, human beings, right? So it's just a title. It's not the God of the Hebrews, or Elohim is the God of the Hebrews. You understand? That's a misunderstanding, right? So it was merely a title describing the beings that lived, roamed, ruled, and visited the planet during that time. Yeah. Question. So this was the original creation of lights. Actually, when you look at Genesis 1:2, it states that void and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and that the spirit or ruach or wind of these Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. Does it not? Right? Genesis 1:2. Ezekiel 1:4 calls them whirlwinds. These beings that came here were in a mothership or craft which contained smaller crafts called holy cities, the size of 1,500 miles in length, yeah, width and height. And you can find that in Revelation 21 verses 16 to 17, which I will quote for you. And I quote, and the city, which in Greek city is polis, like when you say metropolis, yeah, the polis is how you say city in Greek, yeah. So, and the city polis, one native city, lieth 4 square, and the length is as large as the breadth, yeah. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured the wall thereof, 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is of the angelos, a craft, yeah. And as I said, that's Revelation 21:16 to 17. And then you can read it mentions it again in Revelation 21:2, yeah, and start speaking about the bride of Christ, the crystal cities and shit, right, that descend from heaven, okay. And then in Zechariah chapter 5 verses 1 to 2, it says this, and I quote, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll, a megillah, yeah. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits, right? Question, what is all of that talking about? What is all this talking about? This is talking about a craft, a mothership that housed smaller cylinder crafts, 30 miles to 15 feet. These beings were apparently intelligent beings moving in the void and darkness before the light. Yeah, they existed in the darkness, not in the light. That's what, before God said, let there be light, what was he existing in? Do you understand? In verse 3 of Genesis chapter 1, it says, and these Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light, right? 4, and that they, the Elohim, saw that the light, it was good. And at that point, this God, Elohim, divided the light from the darkness and called the light day and the darkness night, and even established evening and morning. All of this on that first day, according to the Bible, the book of Genesis. Question, so why is it repeated in verse 14? Yeah, because that's the mistake. They got the sun being created twice to rest clear, yeah? So the answer, that is the misinterpretation, because here the statement is repeated, and God, the Elohim said, let there be light. So now he's creating the sun again? Is that what you're trying to say? But at this point, he is putting the light in the firmament that was created in verse 6. And God Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. And verse 8 puts the same firmament as the heavens, named by God in the heavens. The Hebrew word for firmament is rakia, right? And you can find that in Genesis 1 verses 7 to 9, and you can find it reiterated in Psalms 19 verse 1, yeah? So the atmosphere that surrounded the planet Earth extended to the heavens and divided into 2 parts, the firmament of the heavens and the firmament of the earth. So you got water above divided from the water below, right? Question, what is the meaning of the word firmament, right? It comes from the word firm in English, or solid. So the heavens are firm and the waters are firm according to this scripture, yeah? Question, what does the Hebrew say? it uses the word rakia, yeah, meaning extended surface, right? So there's a surface above us. That's why your ass can't get out there unless you increase your vibration, right? Or NASA can't get out there. They've never been out there. Don't let them fool you. Even that scientist, Tyson Neil deGrasse, he let it out the back. He must have just been fed up, man. And he just said, this is on, I'll try and find that shit and post it. He said, listen, nobody's never left lower Earth orbit, Leo. Yeah, that's the furthest we've ever gone. He says no astronaut has ever. Do you know what lower Earth orbit is? It's that part of the top of the atmosphere just before you reach space. So you're still under the dome. That's where all they float their satellites and shit up there. They've got them spy planes up there where America's spying on niggas and shit. So no one can really see what's going because it's way up there. But it's just underneath the firmament, the dome. So it's just on the edge of space, if you like. So it's called LEO, Lower Earth Orbit. And according to Tyson deGrasse, Neil deGrasse, who we can say is the premier scientist in the world when it comes to them things there, yes, yeah, he says nobody ain't never left Earth orbit. Go and check it out for yourself. Yeah, he's doing an interview with someone and telling the guy no one ain't never left Earth orbit. They've only been into lower Earth orbit. No one ain't. He says Earth is a closed system. This is Tyson Neil deGrasse saying this, right? Hold on. So extended surface or solid. So we know this shit's solid because we've seen what happened with Operation Fishbowl when they launched a nuke to bomb the firmament. You never heard of Operation Fishbowl? Write that down and Google it. In fact, you may as well write down side of it Operation High Jump and look at both of them, right? So we know it's solid. And if you're diligent in your research like I am, you'll know that it's a form of ice, what they're calling sky ice, right? Because some of it has fallen and they've got pieces of it where they study this shit here. This ice don't melt, it's solid, it's firm. It's the firmament. God put it there. Do you understand? To close this system, right? It's not open for you to just fly out to Mars and fly out here and fly out there. They're chatting shit, right? So the atmosphere over the planet Earth was composed of a firm heaven, firm waters, and void of atmosphere and light. Yet God or Elohim as a group was able to dwell there. Yeah. So as you can see, the God of light literally dwelled intelligently in darkness before and utilized the creative forces from this darkness before the creation of, as Genesis 1 puts it, the light that was divided from the darkness. Not shined, but divided from the darkness. Yeah. The light was taken out of the darkness and they got Yawum, which means the day. Yeah. And they got Layul, which means the night. Yeah. This made up their time zone. So this God or gods, yeah, live within the time zone of the earth, which is controlled by the rotation and revolving of this planet around the sun, and the determination of where it is at a given time determines daytime and night or shadow hours, because the word night is a false word. Night implies that everywhere is dark, whereas shadow hours means on where somewhere is light, somewhere else is dark. So we're in the shadow hours. Do you understand? That's a better word than using the word night, right? So in order for him to perceive night, he also had to be at a specific spot on the planet Earth. Let me put it like this. You have to be on the Earth to observe the rising and setting of the sun, because it doesn't rise and it doesn't set. It's an illusion. It's an optical illusion. So if God's saying, yo, and that was the first day, that means God was on Earth. Because if he's in space, he can't even see the rising and no setting and no Ross Clark sun, right? You have to be on Earth to see that optical illusion. So that's an admittance that God was on Earth. As we know, Enki and the Elohims was on Earth, right? So in order for him to perceive night, he also had to be at a specific spot on the planet Earth. He must have been within the Earth's atmosphere in order for the sun not to be seen at all times, as it would be if you were outside the solar system looking in, where they claim their God is. No, he's not out there. He was here. You understand? Question. So where was their God? Obviously, their Elohim or gods were right here on Earth and were able to see in the darkness. Some dwelled in the sea, and some dwelled on the earth, and some dwelled in the air. Question. How can a person dwell in the air? Simply by using a space station, yeah? Just like humans do, which the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 2, calls the holy city, coming down from Theos or from Elohim, yeah, because theos is the Greek way of saying Elohim, out of the heavens, right? Notice that Malachi is always changing words. One time he'll say theos to get you familiar with the Greek way of saying God. Then he'll say Elohim. Then he'll say Allahumma. Then he'll say Necheru. Then he'll say Anunnaki. It's deliberate. So you can start synthesizing all these different languages and different ways of saying things. He's deliberately doing it. That's why it says theos, the Greek version of Elohim, out of the heavens, right? Question, is the Nibiru a craft? Yes, there are many crafts of different sizes called Nibiru. There's not one. There's a whole fleet of them. This is when we're going to go into the Muslims' Burak story. If you're Muslim, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? If not, hold on, I'll explain it. Question, just what does Nibiru mean? Yeah? First, you must understand the meaning of the word Nibiru. It's from the ancient Sumerian as found in the Chaldean, Akkadian, Aramic, and Ashuric as Nabara, which means to raise, to elevate, to go up. Question, where does the meaning planet of the crossing comes in then? The fact that the most spoke about craft Nibiru is a cube that whence is in motion, revolves and rotates and creates an orb, giving the impression of a globe or a planet structure, yeah? Thus it inhabited the name planet of the crossing. Question, so are you saying there is more than one Nibiru? That is absolutely correct. There are many crafts that elevate and travel intergalactically from star station to star station. Question, are they all shaped the same? No. There are many different shapes and sizes of Nibirus. Revelation 21, 16 to 17. The smaller ones come into this planet's atmosphere as shams, yeah? Genesis 6, verse 4, or Megillah, yeah? Zechariah chapter 5, verses 1 to 2, or Amud, Exodus 13, 21, yeah? Others are mentioned in Ezekiel 1, 16 as Ophan, and the Quran chapter 17 as Burak. Now, in Islamic tradition, they have a hadith or a story that says Prophet Muhammad, yeah, peace be upon him, he made an ascension into the high heavens, right? The Elohim took him up into the high heaven. And when they took him up into the high heavens, they came on some magic mule, yeah, called Burak, yeah, where it takes when it takes one step, it reaches wherever it's going in just one step, right? This is what Muslims say. That's their tradition. So Malachi tells you Burak weren't no flying mule. He says, go find me a flying mule then. Go in the earth and find me the same thing as Burak, a flying mule. Yeah? Malachi says Burak is a fleet of crafts. It's a fleet of Nibirus. Yeah? And because they travel interdimensionally, that's what Muslims misinterpret as, yo, this donkey or this mule, it takes one step and it reaches wherever it reaches. That sounds more like an interdimensional craft to me. It's a fleet of crafts, not no Ross Clark mule or donkey with wings on it, with magic feet, right? Anyway, all of these are symbolic names to describe what wasn't understood in the days of their sightings, yeah? Today, men attempt to be more intelligent and simply say, yo, I seen a UFO, you know, abbreviating unidentified flying objects, which Trump and them have now changed to UAP, yeah? Unidentified aerial phenomena, which just sounds like a bag of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Question, and they know Dr. York doesn't call them UFOs. He calls them IFOs because we know what they are. So they're not unidentified. They're actually identified. So we call them IFOs, not UFOs, right? But anyway, the world called them UFOs and now it's been changed to UAPs, right? So Nibiru is a UFO or IFO, yeah, correct. The many crafts that come in and out and those too large to enter this small Earth's environment because the declared intellectuals of this planet no spiritual or physical attachments to the beings that man the many crafts to them, they are UFO, right? Question, some crafts can't enter Earth's atmosphere? Exactly, the larger crafts could never fit in. One of the Nibirus is the size of Jupiter. It's 10 times bigger than the Earth. How are you going to fly into the Earth's atmosphere? Nigga, the shit has to stop on the other side of the asteroid belt. That's the closest it can come. Then it opens up and smaller crafts come out, 300 miles long, 30 miles long, all these other shams and crystal cities we're talking about. They travel from the Nibiru, which is popped on the other side of the asteroid belt, and they travel into the planets and fly into the Earth and all of that shit there. So some of the crafts can't enter the Earth's atmosphere. They're too big. So again, exactly, the larger crafts could never fit in here. Some are 4 to 10 times the size of the planet Earth. Earth has a diameter of 7,925 miles in diameter and 24,896 miles in circumference. Yeah, that's pretty small. That's like a pebble compared to some of them Nibiru's. Yeah. Question: so how will they rapture the selected? Yeah. Smaller shams will come for the rapture, take selected, genetically bred individuals for reproduction and replenishing by 50s in groups of 50, yeah, in the smaller shams, and they'll take them to the mother crafts, and then these genetically calibrated, and then those genetically calibrated for transformation and transfiguration, suited for Nibiru's environment, will be transported there, yeah. What of the others? What about the others who ain't suited for Nibiru's environments and shit? Remember when we was reading the Revelation from the original Aramaic, and we discovered that this 144,000 is not one group, it's actually 2 groups. That's why it says many are called, but only few are chosen. It's not all the many called, all of them ain't making it. Yeah, it's only a certain selected few out of these many called that end up being the few chosen. Many are called, only few are chosen. So the many is the 144,000. Some of them will make this transfiguration and transition and live in the Nibiru's atmosphere. The larger number won't. They'll have to stay on earth and make it through the tribulation. Yes, they're still under the protection of the Most High, but they're not in this first group. This first group is unblemished. They don't smoke weed like I do. They don't drink. They don't sleep with numerous men. They don't bed hop. You understand? They don't do none of this stuff that we've learned in this harlot called Babylon. Right? And so most of them that reach on that craft will be young people, will be children. They ain't started smoking. They don't fornicate. They don't do none of that shit. The second group, those are people who may have had lives where, yo, he used to sell drugs, or yo, I've messed around with sniff, I don't do it no more, or this gal, she used to be a bit loose, but now she found the light. So those are the people who, although they don't make it to the Nibiru, they still are part of the 144,000. They still come under the protection of the Most High. So a group will make it through all these tribulations that are going on earth, right? While the Muzungu people gone in them bunkers, right? All type of shit will be going on. It's called the 7 years of tribulation. But when Joshua returns with this group from the first, from those who made it onto the craft, he's gonna find survivors here from the group that was on the surface. I believe I'll be on the surface. I smoke and stuff. I've got a history. I ain't gonna be in that first group. I'm happy to be here, so long as my children and shit can get on them shams. I'm happy to be here. I'm going out guns blasting. Do you understand? If I make it, I make it. If I don't make it, I don't make it. I'll make it by going on the other side of the atom. Yeah? So we must get away from this fear. We must get this shit correct in our brains. Do you understand? And keep our children pure, so that they can make it into that first group there. You understand what I'm saying? Because that first group is the group that gets back all its powers, the 4 higher senses and all that shit, and returns with Joshua when Joshua really do come in the person to chop off the head of the Antichrist and remove all of your governments, and all of that's getting wiped. But Joshua is going to come to do that with a group who with him, or what's called the Muklisina, the elite ones. You understand? So how will they rapture the selected? Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah, I read that. What of the others? Many will not survive the cataclysmic calamities that are befalling the planet, right? It didn't say none. It says many. Many will simply expire. This is real talk. A lot of people you see on this knowledge thing, they're not really in it properly, you know. They're not really, it's not really, it's more like a trend. Or everybody's talking about this, or everybody's leaning towards this, where everybody's following this Jedefre plat. Not everybody's here with the right intentions. A lot of these people you see talking about this, they're not doing no work to try and put themselves in a better position. This is just all a hype. You understand? It's the trend. Anunnakis, aliens, God, yeah? Nibiru, right? So a lot of these men are gonna perish, and women, because they're not serious about this thing. But the ones who are serious, they will make it. They'll survive whatever tribulation is thrown at them because they're under the protection of the Yahuwah, and the Yahuwah will always suffice it, whether you're on Nibiru or whether you're on earth, right? It's just all part of the plan. Question: where will those people be taken? Into crafts that hover in the air, some within the earth's atmosphere and some outside of the earth's atmosphere. Excuse me. Question: will they reside there forever? No, this planet will be repaired like the planet Risk, and the selected will return to replenish the earth again, just like the Barashif. Yeah? In the reconstruction period, God created two places. You know what I'm saying? That it's gonna happen again because it's happened before, right? So this Genesis shit ain't the beginning. That was the last replenishing, right? Question: is this what happened before? It's like I'm telepathic with this book. This is exactly what happened before, when crafts came and hovered while the earth was covered with water and there was total darkness and the lights were created. And somebody's wrote here on the script, yeah, black sun, like I said earlier. Why has he put that there? Hold on. Covered with water and there was total darkness and the lights were created. The black sun was created. Is that what he's trying to say? I don't know. Question: so just what are the lights mentioned in verse 14 then, yeah? Let's get at it. Notice that in verse 3, 4 and 5, light is being used as a single that is divided. This one light was your sun, responsible for your days and nights and evenings and mornings. Question: is this different than the sun in 14? Yeah. So you see the sun's created in two places. The sun is created in verse 3, is spoken about in verse 4 and 5, and then all of a sudden, as if they forgot, the sun's created in verse 14, the fourth day. But in verse 14, light is used as a plural, yeah? And these lights which lit up the firmament of the heavens and to divide the day from the night. The first in verse 4 was dividing the light from out of the darkness, yeah? But in verse 13, it's speaking of dividing out of the heavens the day from the night, yeah? Question: what is the difference, yeah? One happens over 23 hour, 56 minutes, 6 seconds of the time, because that's a day, right? It's not 24 hours in a day. I keep telling people this. The day is 23 hours, 56 minutes and 6 seconds. And you might say, well, that's near enough 24. It's not. Yeah. Even if there's a couple seconds missing, that makes a fucking difference. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why do you think the calendars always have to be changed and stuff? Yeah. And times always, the calendars are going off and we have to add a leap year and bring it back in line. And because every day is not 24 hours. Some are, but a lot of time there's 23 hours, 56 minutes and 6 seconds using their measurement of time. And the other deals with 29 and a half days to 30 to make the month, right? On to 365 to make the year, giving us our seasons, our solstices and our equinoxes. For it states in verse 14, and I quote, to divide the day from the night and to let them for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. These are all limited for the powers of a God, who according to the religious controls, who according to the religions controls the boundless universes. This is limited information and limited powers given to this God. Verse 16 even goes further. What does it say? Yeah, it states, and I quote, and this God Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. That's a mistake, yeah? Because if the greater light is the sun, yeah, the sun is a star. It's not different from a star, yeah? Every sun is a star. Every star is a sun. Some stars have planets around them. Some stars don't have planets around them. Nevertheless, they're all stars or suns, right? So if in the Quran or Bible it says, God made the sun, moon and stars. Well, the sun is a fucking star. So that's a mistake. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying them scriptures are obsolete now, because even we can see them mistakes now, right? Whereas 200, 300 years ago, nobody could even see them shits. It just goes over everyone's head. But now in the age we've progressed to, in terms of science and our understanding of the working world, say, hold on, God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. Nigga, the sun is a star. Didn't God know that? Apparently not, right? So it states, and this God Elohim made two great lights. The greater light, which I'm going to say is the sun, to rule the day, yeah? And the lesser light to rule the night. And then it says he made the stars also. But they are fucking suns. Yeah? A question, and what does this mean? It means this is misinformation, right? For if God made two great lights, then it was not your sun and it weren't your moon neither. Why weren't it the moon? Does anybody know why it's not the moon? Put it in the comments, yeah, while I wet my mouth. The lesser light, why is that not the moon? Somebody put it in the comments. It can't be the moon because of what? Think about it. The earth gave birth? No. Somewhere else. Think about it. He made the greater light to rule the day, and he made the lesser light to rule the night, which you would think is the moon, but it can't be the moon. Why it can't be the moon is because the moon is not a light, mate. The moon is a reflective surface that reflects the light of the sun during the night time. So the moon don't have its own light. The moon is using the light of the sun. So when God says he created a lesser light, he weren't talking about the moon there, because the moon is not a light. If you go to the moon and land on it, there's no fucking light coming off it. It's just an effect that we see from the Earth's surface because it's got a reflective surface like a mirror, or shiny surface like how a mirror works, yeah? Or some silver. So when the light from the sun hits it from a certain angle, it illuminates it. But that light don't come from the moon. The moon don't got no light. If you see the moon in daytime, it's just the moon out. There's no light coming from it. It only looks like that in nighttime because the sun in that opposite direction, the light is bouncing off the moon. So from where we are in the darkness, it looks like the moon's lit up. That's just the sun, right? So it couldn't have been the moon that God was talking about when he says he made the greater and the lesser light. So let's go on to see what Malachi says, yeah? Because he's already said this is information, and it's not, this is misinformation, and it's neither your sun nor your moon, but rather a mention of two suns in your solar system, because the moon is non-luminous. A lot of people don't know that we're in a bi-solar system. We have two suns. Never taught you this in school, right? Because one of the sun is really at the end of its life, yeah? But we've got two suns. We're in a bi-solar system. We've got two, right? Anyway, but rather a mention of two suns in your solar system, because the moon is non-luminous and it does not give off its own light, nor is the moon in any way formed compared to the size of the sun as to be called great. In fact, the moon is smaller than the planet Earth. Question: what was the purpose for the creation of the sun? It provided light and was a means of determining time on Earth. The purpose of the heavenly bodies was not for the entertainment of humans' fantasies. Question: how come we can't see stars during the day? Stars are always present in the sky during the shadow time as well as in the day, but you think you cannot see them during the day because of the brightness of your sun, right? What does the word sun mean? The word sun comes from the Middle English, from Old English, sun with an N, with an extra N and an E, like sunni, meaning solar, solstice, helium. Question: how many suns are in the sky? The number of stars visible to the naked eye from Earth has been estimated to total 8,000, yeah, visible from Earth, of which 4,000 are visible from the northern hemisphere and 4,000 from the southern hemisphere. At any one time in either hemisphere, only about 2,000 stars are visible. The other 2,000 are located in the daytime sky and are faint by the much brighter light of the sun. Yeah, from Earth they may appear close together. However, stars are many light years apart. Question: how are stars formed? Stars consist mainly of hydrogen and helium, which with varying amounts of heavier elements. Stars begin as clouds of gas called nebulas, which materialize from clusters of hydrogen atoms. They existed, and even more massive clouds of gas gave birth to the galaxies. How does a star give off light? Over a period of time, increasing degrees of contraction and an increase in heat occurred until reactions in their centers produced intense heat and brightness, which became what you call light. Light is matter. Its beam is illuminated particles, right? Which elements are used in the formation of stars? Hydrogen, the most abundant and simplest gas in the universe, is one of the many fuels of the stars, the light of the heaven and the earth. Hydrogen. All elements and other substances in existence came through hydrogen to this side of matter from antimatter, right? In the stellar cores, hydrogen is converted into helium and other heavier elements. So it is with either one. You have energy, darkness, into either two. You have subatomic energy. At either 7, you have spirit. At either 8, you have soul. At either 9, you have God. For 90% of hydrogen's lifetime, this is the main activity of a star as a human to reproduce its kind, right? This period of burning hydrogen at a consistent, why am I so popular now? While I'm doing this live. This period of burning hydrogen at a consistent rate designates it as a main sequence star, a light star, a light sun, and is the Eva state. There is a dark star, a dark sun, the black sun, called Sekhem and Nun Ray. So there is a fourth part of this triad of Ray. You get Atum-Ra, Atum-Ra, Amun-Ra. Those are all male. Yeah. So you get this, the rising sun, the high point sun, and the setting sun. They're all above ground. Remember, male is an outer being and woman is an inner being. So when you go underground now, you get what's called Anun Re, right? Which is a feminine principle, which is the black sun. That's why he wrote the black sun in that thing. Yeah. Question: what is a light star? What the hell? I'm gonna put this on mute. Such a star is a light sun you see that is in the center of. Hold on. Such a star is the light sun you see that is in the center of your outer solar system. The extremes of this stage are exceptionally dim stars. Yeah. Question: when does a star's light become dim? Stars begin to decline when all the hydrogen is used up. Remember I said 554 million tons of hydrogen is transformed through nuclear fusion, yeah, into 550, not 554 like the hydrogen, 550 million tons of helium, which leaves 4 million tons of hydrogen in the sun's stellar core that starts going on a madness and has to bubble up to the surface and break out. And so when it fires from the surface, it can go hundreds of miles up from the surface of the sun into the fucking sky, yeah, taller than your mountains and stuff. But because of the magnetic pull of the sun, most of them get pulled back down, so they loop over, and so they're called solar loops, right? And this is what I'm saying is the sun's hair. Just like trees have an afro, the sun also has an afro, and 9 either one just like yours. So the 9s curl out the sun. So what you call the sun's corona is actually the sun's afro, right? And the ones that break off and get flung out into space, those are called solar flares, which come from the solar loops, which break away from the magnetism and get flung out into space. They become planets, they become moons, they become comets, they become meteors, they become asteroids. You understand what I'm saying? And so the sun creates its environment around it by spitting matter out, and that matter finding its buoyancy around the sun, so it starts to orbit. So the sun is like a farmer and it's growing plants. Yeah, you just put an E between the N and the T and call it a planet, but it's really a plant, and the sun's watering it and giving it heat and giving it light, just like you grow that seed and you water it and you make sure the sunlight hits it. So the suns are the alchemists. They are the growers of worlds. Do you understand? They are entities. They're alive. Yeah. And the suns that don't have planets around them, they are just stabilizers. They stabilize the universe. So they just keep this area stable. Not all suns or not all stars have planets around them. In fact, the suns that don't have planets around them, those are the real suns, right? Those are the stabilizers. And you learn all this in solar biology. Remember, we're not lunar astrologists. We don't deal with this Greek astrology for no, that's the Muzungu thing. Yeah, we're dealing with this, which is solar biology, right? Yeah, so stars begin to decline when all of the hydrogen is used up. So in that process of fusion with 554 million tons of hydrogen getting turned into 550 million tons of helium, it will run out. Yeah, it's not going to go on forever. So when all the hydrogen is used up, now the sun's on the decline. It's getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Do you understand? It then becomes what astronomers call a red giant, right? So a star goes through stages, yeah, just like you do. It has a lifespan, yeah? It's born, it grows, and it unalives, just like you. You understand? Yes, a star goes through several stages of expansion and shrinkage, which is growth. It has a youth, yeah, and it shrinks in old age, just like you do, right? When you get old and you're back then, you used to be 6'1". If you reach 80 and stuff, you're no longer 6'1". Now you're about 5'8". Yeah, you start shrinking, right? It's the same with the suns. And shrinkage in old age is the way of the human star. As a star, it exhausts its nuclear fuel. It eventually becomes a compact, what's called a white dwarf, yeah? The size of a golf ball. Do you understand that? When it shrinks and becomes the size of a golf ball, understand this, it still holds all of the mass that it fucking had as a sun. It still weighs the same. It's super dense now. Do you understand that? And so it's called a white dwarf, right? A small dead star that may even be smaller than the planet Earth, yeah? Larger stars experience a more dramatic unaliving, yeah, or supernova, yeah? What's the next stage after becoming a red giant? After becoming red giants, they collapse upon themselves, yeah, producing intense heat and causing their core, the stellar core, to explode, yeah, supernova. Such an explosion is called a supernova. From super, a prefix of Latin origin meaning over and above, and nova meaning new, yeah. This is because it appears to the naked eye as a bright new star, right? Hold on. Sometimes the explosion blows the entire star to bits, spontaneous combustion in brackets, and at other times a lump may be left to become a neutron star. That's what I'm talking about, like the size of a golf ball and it still holds all the fucking weight, yeah? Neutron star. The largest remaining bit of a star may also become so compressed that it possesses an intense gravitational pull and then becomes a black hole, right? With the event horizon inside of it. Now it's going to remember everything that went on. The event horizon is just a library. So when it becomes a black hole, it becomes a library and a doorway into another galaxy. So this event horizon is what we're calling the Akashic records, where not even light can escape it. It sucks in everything, just like you pull out, if you pull out the plug in the bath, whatever's in that water is getting sucked down that drain. That's so the black hole works. You understand? Light, in all its speed, 186,272 feet per second, even that can't escape. That shit's getting sucked into the event horizon. Why? Because light is information, and the event horizon is storing all the information from this area. So let's say there was a sun here and the sun exploded and there was a couple planets here and whatnot. When all that's gone, the black hole, the event horizon, still holds all the knowledge of what was here before. So it's now like a library. And so all these black holes, they are libraries which together we can refer to as the Akashic records. It's something we can plug into, right? What is a black hole? A black hole is an extremely small region of space-time, right, with a gravitational field so intense that nothing can escape, not even light. Black holes give off no light, yeah? They act like stellar vacuum cleaners, sucking up matter and energy from space, right? They can be compared to the effect that is produced when a cup of liquid is stirred at high speed, yeah? And you see the thing just spinning around, yeah? Once the spoon is removed, a hole is made in the center of the water, right? Like a miniature whirlpool. I was just about to say whirlpool. Floating objects are drawn and sucked to the center, which is also the effects of a black hole. Question: so black holes are like magnets? Yes, yeah. Black holes will absorb any stray matter or energy that passes within a certain range of it. If it's called a black hole, not a dark hole, then before the light there was blackness, not darkness. And God or Allah, Yahweh or Anu was, so he must be a part of the original darkness before the light that is true black in blackness, supreme balancement, right? Question, what happens when stars start to unalive? As a star starts to pass, it drives powerful streams of gas and dust into space. These stellar winds sweep up matter surrounding the star into a thin, glowing shell, forming what astronomers call a wind-blown bubble. The word astronomer comes from Middle English astronomie, from Old French, from Latin astronomia, from Greek astro, meaning star, plus nomia, meaning number, division. Question, what happens to this bubble? As the star and the winds evolve, this bubble gets sculpted into a multitude of diverse shapes, humans and animals. Within the last decade, astronomers studying stellar evolution have found an astonishing variety of hourglass, peanut, or narrow spindle-shaped clouds of brightly glowing gas surrounding stars called bipolar nebulae. Question, what is bipolar? The term bipolar refers to the presence of two lobes of material moving in opposite directions. Question, what is a nebula? A nebula or nebulae is a diffuse mass of interstellar dust or gas or both, visible as luminous patches or areas of darkness, out in outer space, depending on the way the mass absorbs or reflects in incident radiation. It comes from Middle English nebulae, cloud, mist, from Latin nebula. Some bipolar nebulae contain more than a sun's worth of mass, and all of them are expanding at hypersonic speed. Astronomers now see bipolar nebula as the imprint of violently colliding stellar winds. What is the purpose for the creation of the sun, moon, and stars? You must understand that all things are created for their specific functions. Nothing is for nothing. Everything is for a reason. Those of which you may not understand, right? Forms and deformity all play their role or parts in the all. Events in the universe affect and interact with each other. In other words, there is no such thing as an isolated incident, that affects nothing outside of itself. There's no such thing, everything is connected. Oh, it was just an isolated incident. There's no such thing, mate. Everything is connected. Do you understand, right? What does life on Earth depend on? We only got 10 minutes left. What does life on Earth depend on? Life on Earth, to the great extent, depends on the activities of its sun. That's why it's called a solar system. It's not called the God system or the Jesus system or the Allah system or the Yahweh system. They ain't running this shit. The sun is running this shit. That's why it's called the solar system. The light, the warmth, all the nourishment comes from the sun, not from no spook God sitting on no cloud, not from no Yahweh in the middle of nowhere, not from no Allah who nobody ain't never seen. It's the sun that is the master of this. That's why it's called the solar system, mate. Right? And it don't matter what you think. You can say, oh, this Jedefre guy sound like he worshipped the sun. But even if I did, I'd rather worship the sun than your Jesus. Nigga, I see the sun every day. I'd rather worship the sun than your Allah. You told me nobody ain't never seen Allah. We don't even know if Allah's real, because none of you have seen him. But you out here talking about you bear witness that there's no God but Allah. But at the same time, you can't see him, right? So I'd rather worship the sun than Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, beings that we ain't never seen. None of you can't never tell me, yo, I met Allah, you know. Oh, I met Jesus. Oh, yeah, I met Yahweh. None of you can confirm it. But all of you see the sun all the time. So even if I did worship the sun, it makes more sense than worshipping your spooks that nobody ain't never seen and never even seen none of them in no museums or nothing. They ain't never seen no Jesus or nothing. Not even his chair. What is the purpose for the creation of the sun and moon? Like I said, you must understand that all things are created for their specific functions, those of which you may not understand. Forms and deformity all play their roles, all play their parts in all. Events in the universe affect and interact with each other. Everything is connected. In other words, there is no such thing as an isolated incident that affects nothing outside of itself. What does life on Earth depend on? Life on Earth, to the great extent, depends on the activities of its sun, not of its God, not of its Elohim, not of its Anunnakis, not of its Nesherus, of the sun, right? The sun, as I have shown, came into existence by the combination of hydrogen atom and helium, right? Question, what was their purpose? The sun, moon and stars produced the much needed illumination, warmth and stimulation for growth on the planets in which solar systems they govern. Again, the word solar system, not God system, not Allah system, not Jesus system, not Buddha system, not Neteru system, the solar system, right? Though from Earth you see other stars, they are merely suns. All of them stars are suns and are part of other systems, yeah? Most are much larger than your sun. Your sun is a small fry sun, you know. Our sun is very small compared to next door and shit, man. Like 100 suns are 100 times bigger than our sun, where you call super suns, yeah? And which are, some are blue, some are red, some are yellow, and that determines what stage of life it's in. If it's blue, that shit's new brand. That shit's just been born. If it's orangey, yellowish, white, nigga, that's an old man, like your son, right? Where they say, yo, the sun's only got 1 billion years left. That's like saying an 80-year-old, yo, the sun's 80 years old. Because the suns live for hundreds of billions of years. So if they're telling you, yo, your son's only got 1 billion years left, that's like saying, yo, that 90-year-old man, he's only got 1 year left, you know, in terms of the equivalent. Do you understand that? So your sun's old, shriveled up and small, whereas the super suns burn blue. They're massive. So like you say, the Anunnaki have 3 suns. One is blue, one is red, and one is yellow. Do you understand? They got their 3 different stages of life. Some are older than the others. Do you understand what I'm saying? And again, I go through this in book 6 of my series. Today is Tomorrow is Yesterday, volume 1, The Persistence of Existence. Volume 2, The Language of Time. Both them books is really one book. But at 900 pages, it would have been unreadable for most of you guys. My books are big enough at 450, 500 pages. So imagine, I've took 8 years to write this book, and it's over 900 pages. It's my mother, who you seen come in here, said to me, oh, you have to bust that book in two. I didn't want to. I wanted to have a book bigger than, what's the guy's name? Robin Walker. My ego was kicking in. Yeah, I did a lecture with Robin Walker. You guys know Robin Walker, right? The historian. He wrote that book, When We Ruled. Great book, yeah? But he's not a great human. So when I went on, it was a friend who put both of us on the same speaking show. I thought, yo, this is a big occasion. This is a big guy, big in like the premier historian in England and stuff. I seen it as a real opportunity. This guy went on like, he's vexed, yeah? People said, oh, son, you stole his show, yeah? People are asking me more questions than him, and I'm answering questions, and this guy's going on salty. So after now, he asked my friend, oh, don't put that out. Don't put that show that me and him did. He didn't want to put it out. So I thought, this guy's going on a bit funny and shit, man. So I just didn't like him after he did that, because I wanted that video so I could show people, yo, I've been on a fucking talk with this guy. That would have done great for me. Do you understand? This guy sabotaged the thing, yeah? So I thought, I'm going to write a book bigger than my man's book. So that, because it's massive, that When We Rule is bigger than my books, yeah? So I went to task, roll my sleeves up. My book's going to be bigger than this. But I ended up with a book so big, my own mum was like, nah, that's unreadable. You're going to have to bust it in two. So reluctantly, I bust it in two. And that's why book 6 is 2 books, well, 3 books, yeah? It's that book busted in 2. And then I went and wrote a novel, just because I wanted to try writing a novel. So them 3 books is book 6. Anyway, let me go on, yeah. So much larger than the sun. What about our sun and moon? They both have purpose to the planet, one taking up where the other leaves off. The moon controlling the tide and cooling of the planet as the sun moves into another position on the planet. The point being, the sun never stops shining and the moon never stops reflecting its light. The misinformation is intentionally taught, yeah, to encourage faith, belief, yeah, without investigation of the that leads to facts, sound right reasoning, yeah. Thus, the trust goes into theologians. You trust your scholars, your religious theologians, your imams, your pastors, your rabbis, your reverends, your sheikhs, your muftis. You trust them, yeah, as if they're experts, when they're just lying to you and making shit up, right? and not the anthropologists, yeah? Your belief goes into theologians and not earth scientists, alchemists, gemologists, paleontologists, and mineralogists. Those men and women who have followed in the footsteps of the ancient Egyptians. So what you're saying is you shouldn't be following no theologians. You should be following what the anthropologist is digging up out of the earth and shit, right? And you shouldn't be following no theologians and you should be following the scientists, and I'm talking about applied scientists, not these theoretical science, this nursery science that the West is coming up with. I'm talking about our science, like ancient Kemetic science we're dealing with here, and Dogon science and shit like that, right? But even normal scientists, there's still enough in Western science that you should be following over these religious people. The Western science makes more sense than Western religion. Do you understand? Even with all the flaws in it and a theory thing, religion is theory. It's the same assumptions. They don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. So allow following these theologians, follow the science. Yeah. Like told us in the lockdown, just trust the science. And then at least, even if it's weak, you can then move from there and go into the applied science. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. And we should be following alchemists and gemologists, yeah, and paleontologists and mineralogists, not theologians, right? Those men and women who are just named have followed in the footsteps of the ancient Egyptians and investigated the causes and effects of existence, okay? So I'm going to stop there. The next question is, so the sun does not rise and set as the Bible, Numbers 2:3, and Joshua 12:1, and Genesis 28:11, and Quran 1886, 1817, and 1890 states. So we'll get to that the next time, right? Let me just scroll through here real quickly. I'm not going to tarry long. Shout out to all the regulars, yeah? And if it's the first time, your first time here, and you came early and you stayed to the end, we hope you join us again for part 7. Hold on. I don't know why Sister Nourish is giving me these cry faces, you know. I know I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes when I'm explaining this thing, yeah. Someone must have said something, or someone must have said something. Robin Walker. The book is called When We Rule. It's massive, really good book, right? Robin Walker. A lot of people will say he's the premier historian in the UK. He's our guy out here, but he's kind of like a pleb. He's very, very like up his own arse. He's very like stuck up, right? So like I said, he sabotaged that one chance I had to say I've did a presentation with a known person. I was really looking forward to putting that out on my social media and shit. The nigga crashed the thing. When I tried to talk to him, he don't even answer. He's just like, for what type of Negro is this guy, man? And then my people were like, yeah, he's a bit of an idiot, you know. So I just allowed him in it. And at that time, I only had one book. I'm not even a threat to him. I had one little piece of book, Treasures in the Sand. I'm talking the first edition, no pictures, nothing, small print. I'm proud of it still. Let me go on the lecture with this guy, yeah? My man snubbed me, man. So yeah, I don't like my man in it. But I'm never gonna say his work ain't great, right? The book that he wrote, When We Ruled, I got it downstairs, yeah? Fantastic book. In fact, let me get it for you just to show you how big this thing is, yeah? Well, I'm going now, yeah? You want the big pieces, yeah? So this is the thing I'm talking about, yeah? Y'all familiar with this? Look how thick the thing is, yeah? So it's bigger than my books. Let me see how much pages in here. So look, 620, 634. So I beat him. If I would have left that book as one book, because he goes to So that's the bibliography. All of this is bibliography. So the book ends on page, all this is like some notes and stuff. Hold on. Yeah, so his book is 768 pages, right? So my book was over 900, I'm sure it's 950 something pages, yeah, so I had to bust it in two and make it 2 books. But I really wanted to make my book bigger than this pleb book, you understand? But yo, you guys get this book. It's a really good book. It's been doing the numbers for time. It's known outside of England too. It made an impact on Americans and people in Africa. He is really good at what he does. He's just not a really decent human in the way he interacts with people like myself, for whatever reason, right? Yeah, shout out Black Sun 435 and Bernadette son. I need to go and do an errand for my mother. I don't like to procrastinate when it comes to my mother. So I'm gonna go and get her. She wants some. She's very particular, so she only eats from certain places. So I gotta drive and go there and get it for her. Okay. Hands of Steel, shout out to you. Who's this pleb here? Let me just block you. These guys must got it twisted here. Me not tongue cheek, no. Me right off for you cheek. Yeah. The Grand Canyon is the birth canal. Well, the Grand Canyon 11 billion years ago is where the original moon was blown out of. So I'm not going to argue with you. Who's this? Degenerate. Hold on, let me get him up out of here. They always find my page. But you know what? You see when you turn on the light, it attracts. That's what happens when you're a being who puts out light and like a lighthouse. Now all these unfamiliars and stuff start, yo, swarming toward, yo, I can get a bit of attention, go in the comments. Shout out to Natasha, man. You've been riding with me for the whole day today. I appreciate that. And Sister Nourish, and your sister Natalie. Yeah, you three. Yeah. Charlie's angel, Jeffrey's angel. Yeah. Rahubat Yassar, Mark Sebastian. Shout out to Chris. Chris's face always pops up. Chris shared the live. This Bernadine Deanson guy, I'm blocking you because you just want to spit out stuff. You might as well go live on your page, man. I hate people that spam my comments and keep saying the same thing. Get up out of here, mate. Write a book or something. And sometimes I get it wrong. Like I've did that before, and then someone comes in my inbox, please can you unblock this person? You block them, yeah? They really like your work. Oh shit, I got it wrong. So that happens too, yeah? Yo, shout out 369 Major. I did know that I've missed one of your calls. I'll call you tomorrow and we'll talk, yeah? Yeah, that's my lieutenant right there, yeah? 369 Major. Okay then. Empress Queen. I've frozen. Am I frozen, guys? I'm not frozen. Let me just end this YouTube anyway, because it's about to end there. So I'll end this one. Yeah, and yeah, I'm about